Hey guys, this is Mark for the Gun Guy channel, and today is going to be kind of a first for us because it's going to be really a true tabletop review without a lot of guns or hands-on gun. I snuck a little bit of gun in there just because. Why, you might ask? Well, I hurt my hand.
Oh, son of a gun.
So I'm not supposed to be shooting two-handed, and I have been doing a little bit of shooting one-handed, working on my trigger control, and it's not really pretty. Rather than just show you a whole bunch of video of me shooting low left or right, I decided to make a video about a question I actually get asked a lot by a lot of my friends, and one in particular. And he goes, so Mark, what is a good home defense gun for a beginner? And he was a true beginner. I think outside of going to the range with me one time, he had never really picked up a gun. And the answer to that question is coming up right after this. So the quick answer to the question, what is a good gun for a beginner, is a revolver. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I would recommend a revolver to a beginner shooter over a semi-automatic, caliber choice, types of ammunitions, accessories, and all the different considerations of what really makes a revolver good for a beginner shooter. That's going to include also, after we talk about the guns, defense plan, safe storage, and all that other stuff. If you have been watching our videos and liking them, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment if you can. And as always, we are going to bookmark our chapters. So if there's anything you want to get right to, you can skip over the other parts and get to it. But for now, let's take a look at why I like revolvers for beginners. For those who are new to firearms, the simplicity of a revolver is highly advantageous. So unlike semi-automatic pistols, which involve, magazines, slides, a lot more potentials for malfunctions, revolvers have a pretty straightforward loading and firing process. They're much easier to operate under stress. They require minimal maintenance, and they're a lot less likely to jam, making them really good for beginners. And the only real downside is capacity. So semi-automatics absolutely offer a higher capacity than revolvers, but the nice part about revolvers is you pull the trigger and they pretty much fire every time. Now, you can screw up a revolver by screwing up the timing. And to that end, this is where I snuck the one gun in, right? So I'm just going to show you this. This is a Taurus Model 66. I guess I kind of spoiled it because this is one of the guns on our list. But if you look at it, when you pull the trigger, it goes bang. Now, you can make the gun malfunction, and it's hard, by the way, I've tried. So you literally have to kind of try to screw up this gun. But if you don't allow the trigger to go all the way up, and let's see, didn't do it. Well, see, if you don't do that, nothing happens. But if you let it go up partially and not fully, the cylinder may spin, but the hammer won't cock. So obviously you don't want to do that. But that's mostly caused by guys who are shooting semi-automatics, and they're trying to get rapid shots off, so they're not letting the trigger go fully forward. With a revolver, if you pull it and let it go up, it's pretty much idiot-proof, which means I can use it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your moron.
So what factors basically make a good revolver for home defense? And there are several. The first one that you need to consider is really caliber. You want something that has sufficient stopping power, but you also want something that isn't going to throw you off for recoil. particularly if you're a new shooter. The range that calibers come in, they come in everything from 22 on up to 44 mag or 500 Smith & Wesson. If you shoot a 500 Smith & Wesson in your house without ear protection, you're going to need to learn to sign because it's loud.
You all right?
What?
But as far as stopping power and just a good choice of gun, I would say the 357 Magnum, which can also shoot 38 Special, is going to be the top choice. The reason being, both of them have good stopping power. The 38 Special has less recoil, so it's obviously a little bit better for control. So I would probably say for the beginner shooter, get a 357 Magnum, and I would shoot defensive 38 Special rounds in it. As you got more familiar with it, you could go to the 44 Special or a 45 Colt, and they do offer better stopping power. But for an inexperienced shooter in a stressful situation, the recoil, the noise, the flare, probably not the best choice. Similarly, some of the revolvers come in 9mm, and while they're less common, it has much less power, stopping power, than a 357. You have to fiddle around with moon clips for the most part with that. And one of the trade-offs really, why people do semi-automatics in 9mm, is it does have less power, but you get more rounds. So it's not an ideal choice unless you like it. And then lastly, as we said, there is the 22 long rifle or Magnum. It's a great round to shoot in revolvers. However, it's, and ironically, it's one of the most lethal rounds there are. More people get killed with 22s than any other caliber. The problem is going to be that it lacks stopping power. So while you may kill the guy who broke into your house, it will be 4 hours after you're dead and he is in the pawn shop with all your property.
Hot. Do you mean to imply stolen? I'll give you $50 for it. $50?
Next, a good consideration is barrel length. So revolvers come in all kinds of barrel lengths, from snubby, 2 inches, all the way to 6+ inches, right? The shorter barrels, 2 to 4 inches, are really ideal for home defense. And it makes it easier to maneuver in the tight spaces of your house. The downside is with the longer barrel, 6 inches plus, you get better accuracy and more velocity, but they are a little tougher to handle indoors. Next consideration for a revolver for home defense is capacity. Revolvers have varying capacity. Although the 6-shot is always what you hear about, right? Modern revolvers go anywhere from 5 to 7 rounds for the most part. And that is completely sufficient for home defense. However, you probably want to have a speed loader next to the revolver where you're keeping it. Now, there are a couple of revolvers out there that have 8 rounds as well. However, the cost factor goes up quite a bit. So I believe Taurus has the 608 and Ruger has a Red Hawk. Those are both 8-round guns. And again, this is the trade-off that you are making when you go with a revolver versus semi-automatic. So you get reliability, you get ease of use, but you give up the 30-shot magazine with the Glock switch, which will tear up your house. So it might not be a bad trade. Revolvers also come with all kinds of different trigger types. Principally, there's a double action only, and what that means, I figured out a way to use the gun again. So double action only means there is really no external hammer, and you have to pull the trigger to cock it and shoot. This is shrouded or hidden. That's a double action only. Not ideal for home defense. I mean, it is very safe, but it also makes it tougher to shoot. So part of the beauty of a revolver is that you can have, and this is the next trigger type, double action or single action, meaning you can have the double action, or if you want to take a precise shot, you can cock it, and you have a very short, crisp trigger pull. So double action, single action is really the preferred method for a revolver. for home defense, in my opinion. And then you also have single action only guns, which are great for cowboy action shooting or if you're making a Western movie. For home defense, it probably would not be my choice because for the most part, you're going to need, two hands, or you're going to be limited with how quick you can do it. Next, we're going to consider frame size. So there are lots of great small revolvers out there. Probably not ideal for home defense. The reason being, for home defense, particularly for a beginner, you want something that's easy to control with reduced recoil. And so that's going to kind of eliminate most of the air lights or ultralights. So for frame size, what we're going to be looking for is something that falls into either a medium or a large frame for our top 5 list. So in regard to recoil management, guns are also made out of different materials. Some are made out of steel frames, and that is going to be our preference because they're heavier and they absorb recoil better. You might want an alloy or polymer frame if you're carrying it because you don't want to carry a steel gun around all day. But for home defense, it's sitting in a nightstand or a safe. Go with the steel frame, in my opinion, again, because it's heavier, it absorbs recoil better, and that's going to make the stressful shooting situation more manageable for you. We are looking at sights. What kind of sights are there? Now, there are all kinds of different sights that you can have on a gun. Night sights are particularly helpful in low light conditions. You can also have fiber optics or high visibility sights, and you can also get laser grips or optics that are added onto the gun. Now, certain guns do come with rails for optics. I believe Taurus makes some, and you can also find adapters to remove the rear sights on certain guns and put in a plate for optics as well. The advantage to this is obviously you have a laser or an optic on your gun. The disadvantage is, and it's almost counterintuitive with a revolver, you're going with the revolver because of simplicity and reliability. So when you start adding technology to that, you're adding complications and you're also adding potential failures. So it's just a consideration. So another key consideration is really reliability and the brand reputation. So particularly for a home defense gun, the gun literally may be saving your life. Your life may depend on the function of that gun. So for the most part, you want to stick with something that has a history of reliability and the brand is reputable. Some of the major ones, and they're all on our list by the way, are Smith & Wesson, which is known for durability and smooth triggers. Ruger, which is basically a tank. It's tough and reliable. Colt, which is probably the pinnacle of high quality classic revolvers. And then Taurus, which is a budget friendly option, and they have some great models. Now, I do know Taurus gets some mixed reviews from people. Honestly, I am a big Taurus fan. I like them. But you should go and shoot all of the guns that are going to be on our list, and you should pick the one that you like best. Now, lastly, we're going to consider ammunition, and this is going to be super quick. You really want hollow points or some kind of defensive ammunition. The reason being it will prevent or help prevent over-penetration, and it increases stopping power. Now you can also add low recoil defense loads to this, and it's useful for faster follow-up shots, and then it also does add to the over-penetration issue or preventing it. And now, after all that, let's get to the top 5 revolvers for home defense. Some of these we've actually done videos on, so we'll put the links to these videos as we're going. And we're going to start in order of cost. So we're going from the cheapest to the most expensive gun. And coming in on our list at number 1 or 5, depending on how you're counting it, is the Rossi RM64. Now, it's chambered in .357 Magnum and .38 Special. Its capacity is 6 rounds. It has a 4-inch barrel. They also come in longer lengths with different models, but again, I think the 4-inch is pretty good. You can get this gun for right around $400. So the Rossi RM64 is a really good, cost-effective choice that doesn't sacrifice quality. The RM64 features a steel frame, which ensures durability. It's got a smooth double-action trigger for quick shooting in high-stress scenarios. And again, at just over $400, this revolver is one of the most budget-friendly options for those looking for a dependable firearm for home defense. Now, the other thing, because I want to go back to brand recognition, I did not mention Rossi specifically when I was talking about brands that I consider reliable. Rossi is owned by Taurus, so I'm going to consider them covered under that umbrella. Which brings us to the second gun on my top 5, and that is the Taurus Model 66. I really like this gun. This was the gun I was demonstrating on. It has a 7-round capacity. It comes in 4, 6, or 8.375 inches in barrel length, and it can be found for right around $440. Now, if you don't like this particular one, but you still want to stay in the same price range and with the same company, you can go with the Taurus Tracker, the 627. I was shocked when I got my Model 66, the Taurus Model 66, because Smith also has a Model 66, but it has a beautiful double action trigger, and the single action is just really nice to shoot. It has adjustable sights, and the ergonomic rubber grips make it really comfortable to shoot both 357s and 38s. Again, if budget is a key factor, this revolver offers also a great value in my opinion. Number 3 on my list is the Ruger GP100. The GP100 is also a really great gun. Rugers are basically known as tanks, okay? This gun is chambered in .357 or .38 Special. It has a 6-round capacity. It comes in 3, 4.2, and 6-inch barrel lengths. The price on this gun, and again, we're stepping up a little bit, is $750. But it's built for durability and longevity. The Ruger GP100 is absolutely one of the toughest revolvers available. It's a solid steel frame, triple locking cylinder, ensure reliability, and it just makes it an excellent option for home defense. One of the other nice things about the Ruger GP100 is it has kind of a unique grip to it. It allows you to really get a higher grip on the gun, which allows you a little bit more control. And again, all of these guns are guns that if you're considering, if you can get to a range, shoot them, try them, and see which ones you like. Number 4 on the list, and this was actually my home defense gun for a long time, is the Smith & Wesson Model 686, chambered in .357 Magnum, .38 Special. By the way, all the guns we're talking about are chambered in .357 Magnum and .38 Special, so I probably stop saying that sooner or later. It comes in 2 different versions. There is the 686, which is capable, it has a 6-round capacity, and then there is the 686 Plus, which has a 7-round. I used the 686 Plus, and the barrel length it is available in is, and these are the normal versions. They also offer a tallow version that comes in 5 and 7, but the normal versions come in 2.5. 3, 4, 6, or 8.38, and again with the tallow, add a 5-inch and a 7-inch. So if size matters to you, you got a lot of choices.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
The price range is basically from $650 to $800 if you shop it. And as I said, this was my home defense gun. I love this gun. I have it in 2.5 inches, and honestly, it is probably one of my absolute favorite guns. The double action is incredibly smooth. So one of my competition revolvers is actually a GP100 match champion. I think that the my Smith & Wesson 686 Plus probably has at least as nice of a double action, and honestly, I even prefer the single action to my Ruger. So it's just a great gun to shoot. It's got some good weight to it, so it eats recoil even in the shorter barrel. And the grips are just phenomenal. I have rubber grips on all my guns that I use for home defense. I know they don't look as pretty as the wooden ones, but if your hands are sweating, the rubber is a lot better than a slick wood. So again, the Smith & Wesson is just a great gun for beginners or experts anywhere along the scale. And number 5, you probably guessed it, the Lamborghini, if you will, of revolvers, the Colt Python, which is, it's chambered in 357 38 special. It has a 6-round capacity. The barrel length is 4.25 or 6 inches. Now the price on the Python is the highest on our list, and you can find them for right around $1,200. The Python is a legendary revolver. If you're a Fear the Walking Dead fan, you'll love that gun. It's Rick's gun.
Lower your gun. You with the Colt Python.
It is really known for just exceptional accuracy, ridiculously smooth trigger, classic design. The older Pythons were handmade and hand-fitted. The newer ones do still have some hand fitting, but the prices have come down because they do mass manufacture some of the parts. But they are just amazing guns. In fact, if you were to ask me to pick between the 686 and a Python, it's a tough choice. You cannot go wrong with either one of those revolvers. And honestly, the finish on the Python probably nudges it out of the Smith just a bit at least. So that is the list of my top 5 revolvers for beginners for home defense. But don't just buy one of these because I said so. Because like everybody who makes gun reviews, I have an opinion and they have different opinions. So what you really want to do is, if you can, go to a range that has all these revolvers and try them out and see what fits best in your hand. So this is almost the exact list I gave my buddy that we talked about at the beginning, and he wound up with, you guessed it, the SP101, which was not even on my list. But when he was renting them, he just liked the way that felt in his hand. So he went with the Ruger SP101, which is honestly a really great revolver too. It wasn't on my list because it has 5 shots and it's a little bit smaller. So if you're recoil sensitive, might not be the best choice. But beyond choosing the right gun and caliber and ammunition, there are other things that you really need to consider, particularly if you're a beginner for effective home defense. And having the right accessories and strategies can really improve your ability to respond to a crisis. So I kind of want to go over those, even though I don't see a lot of this in other gun reviews. So if you'd like, you can sign off now, but if you want to stick around, a flashlight or a weapons light is just invaluable. So most of the time, if someone breaks into your house at night, unless you have all the lights on, it's going to be really hard to see someone. So ideally, if you have a gun that you can mount a light to, that's a great choice. But most of the guns that we've talked about, in fact, all of the guns, don't have any way to really easily mount a weapons light. So a tactical flashlight that you keep next to the gun allows you to see what you're shooting at clearly. And remember, you don't ever want to shoot a gun at something that you can't see clearly, particularly in your house. You don't know if it's a family member, if it's a pet. So a flashlight, tactical flashlight, is absolutely critical when you have a home defense revolver. Because, and I'm going to digress a little bit, when people talk about self-defense guns, no one really, now the buzz phrase is it's a gun unit or a self-defense unit. So you talk about the gun and the holster and the belt all combined. Well, to that same extent, you need to consider that for your home defense gun. On all my guns, if I'm going to use them for home defense, I remove the wooden grips and I prefer rubber grips. A couple of reasons. If your hands are sweating in a stressful situation, the gun could slip. And rubber grips, while they might not look as nice, absolutely can help with the felt recoil in your hands. One of the drawbacks to the revolver, if not the only drawback, is capacity. This can be counteracted to at least a certain extent by keeping speed loaders, at least one, with the gun. You can also use moon clips if you like, and you should practice reloading that gun with the moon clips or the speed loaders. To do this, I would, particularly if you're a beginner, I would not recommend playing with live ammunition. I would get snap caps and use that, but that's an important part. And then lastly, what you really, really want to do, particularly if you live with someone or you have a pet or anything like that, is you want to have a defense plan ahead of time, and you want a safe storage place. That's really where we should start. The gun really needs to be in a safe place where you have quick access to it, but nobody else does. So you have a bunch of different types of safes that are bio-activated, or they can have key combinations or finger combinations, but you want that gun in a place where only a person who's supposed to be able to get at it can get at it. Secondly, family communications. If you live with other people, you want to have a plan to prevent crossfire or confusion in a home invasion scenario. So, for example, if you hear someone breaking into your home at night and an alarm goes off or you hear a window shatter, you need to set up a plan for your family for your specific house. In my house, if the alarm goes off, and this did happen, by the way, everyone is to go to one room, and that's where we start. And then we know that everyone's in there, so someone's, no one got up to go to the bathroom and accidentally triggered the alarm, and you're risking shooting someone who you're trying to protect. I cannot emphasize this enough. I know, the focus is always on the gun and the action and the caliber, and it's fun to shoot, but you really want to have a comprehensive plan on where people are and what they should do in the case of an invasion scenario, so as to avoid anyone getting hurt who's not supposed to get hurt. And you also want to do regular training. Now, I understand that this is hard for some people, and some people just don't want to do that. That's one of the other reasons we went with the revolver. It's very simple to use, but you really do need to at least get a de minimis amount of practice in. And this will ensure that you're prepared to use your revolver effectively. So that is the end of this video and my thoughts. So those are the top 5 revolvers that I would recommend to a beginner for home defense. I'm curious if you are a beginner, if you have any of these guns, if you see this video and go out and buy any of these guns. I'm also curious to the more advanced shooters who may be watching this, What would you recommend to a beginner, and how is that the same or different from what we talked about in this video? Thanks for watching. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. See you next time on the Gun Guy channel.